Reverend, you ready to start us?
Whenever you are, sir.
Thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks that we can come together and ask for your wisdom as we are about the business of our county. Lord, we pray a blessing on the Commissioner's Court, on the judge. It reminds us that in Jeremiah 29, the Lord told his people to pray for the peace of their community. So that is our prayer today. And also, Lord, we join with Ezekiel and we pray for rain. We say, have mercy and break the drought. Let there be 3 inches of rain each day for 4 or 5 days in a row. On this we ask in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Reverend. That was very nice.
You're welcome, sir.
We're going to call the regular Commissioners Court meeting for Thursday, August the 11th. It's 9 o'clock. All commissioners are present. First item is discussing possible action on approval of payroll number 16. Will we approve payroll number 16?
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action ratification approval of additional bailiff for the courthouse. If y'all will recall, in our workshop, we had y'all agreed to, that we should hire a bailiff for the courthouse over across the street. So the sheriff went out and did that. So we have one. We just need to ratify that position.
I'll move to ratify the bailiff.
Motion in the second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. I think he started Monday?
Yes.
Monday? So that place is protected. Next, we have discussed a possible action on authorization to create a position in the county clerk's office using the records management fund. County clerk, you're on.
Good morning. Yes, as it states in the statute that I need to come before y'all and ask permission to, well, not permission, but we need to agree from both the Commissioner's Court and my office to request anything that be done out of the budget for that line. I would like to request that we open up another position in that line for my office.
What's the balance on that fund? Is that the one that has 600 or 800,000?
It's not, oh gosh, I don't even remember. Do you have it? Yeah, I didn't look before I came in. It's a few $100,000.
Is that
What number is that? It's, I think it's a 32.
32 fund is what she says.
Yeah.
Yeah, 321,000.
And Debbie, that fund just keeps replenishing itself every year, right? Keeps growing.
It has the last couple of years.
So if we,
And I had talked to Edward about this as well, and he had said that shouldn't be a problem.
It shouldn't be a problem as long as the Commissioner's Court approves it.
Yeah.
can that records, the other records restoration fund, the one that has all the big amount, can it also
Yes.
be used to fund that
No,
person?
that cannot be.
Okay.
That can only be,
Ma'am, would you take it out, please? Thank you.
that can only be used for restoration projects.
Okay,
That's all that money can be used for. You cannot
All right.
use it for funding.
so you have, this fund would fund it 100%,
Yes,
right? And keep replenishing.
yes.
Now, what if those funds do go away? Just, what if?
Have they ever?
They haven't the last couple of years, but I know Gina has a couple of projects in mind.
Yeah, well, the biggest project's coming out this year. But
This
I-
is gonna be a full-time, right, permanent?
Yes,
position?
yes, yeah.
Would you be able to keep your place open during lunchtime if you did this?
I could, but
You have
I
an extra
probably
person.
won't, I probably won't, because it's just not something that's ever been an issue since we closed for COVID. I've never had any complaints. I just never had.
I hear it from people, I'm just,
And I understand that, but I don't get the complaints. And my office really is the one that needs to be getting those complaints.
Maybe
I
they
need-
get them about the tax office, because people tax office, they already go get license.
Yeah,
plates from the-
and I mean, it's just, it's something I could consider, but I don't think it should be in a point in the realization of why I need an employee.
Okay.
It's just, it's a busy office, it's a very busy office.
If you need a motion, I'll make one to authorize the county clerk to create a position using resource management fund. Second.
records management fund.
Resource records.
All right. Motion made and second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Next, we have discuss, you're welcome. Next, we have discussed take possible action on approval of personnel action forms.
Okay, the first one's Nima Aguilar, part-time position for Judge Klaus. Second one's Esmeralda Vahe, and then she's going from clerk in training to regular clerk for Judge Shearhart. Next one's a new hire at the DA, Assistant DA, Bianca Schmerber. Next one's Sarah Bernal, in the Sheriff's Office, going from telecommunications to commissary clerk. Joseph Deary, Sheriff's Office, corrections officer to corrections sergeant. Dominique Fonseca, going from SRO to deputy. Mark Garrison, new hire at the bailiff at the old courthouse. Christopher Tice, going from deputy to school resource officer. Donnie Whitaker, resignation, retirement. Stephen Tapia, new hire, heavy equipment operator. Need to make a correction on the spelling of equipment, please.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, motion passes. Next, we have discuss and take possible action on approval of the 2023 holiday and payroll schedule.
Now, these are just your basic holidays that we do every year. There is an option down at the bottom on December for Christmas, either do a Monday and Tuesday or Friday and Monday, whichever you guys think will work the best.
So whoever makes the motion, y'all need to decide, do y'all want to, at Christmas, we want to do Monday, which is Christmas Day, and Tuesday, or Friday and Monday?
All, I said Monday, Tuesday, or.
Monday, Tuesday probably makes more sense.
That makes sense, so I go down.
Then somebody make that motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve the holiday schedule, including Monday and Tuesday for Christmas, December 25th and 26th.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on authorization to purchase a work truck from precinct 1 and precinct 2 under local government code 2625024 under discretionary exemptions.
And that's to purchase the vehicles due to unforeseen damage to public property, correct?
Yeah.
As long as,
If and when they come in,
if they come in,
if and when, we have somebody when they're all coming in.
One will be in at the end of September, first week of October. And then the other two will be coming in next year sometime.
and that's on top of the one thing that we're talking about?
Yeah, there's two more coming in next year sometime.
Another motion.
I'll make it.
Second.
Motion is second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on approval of budget amendments.
We don't,
We have none?
We're tabling, well, sort of tabling it.
that was the way, we'll table it.
Yes.
We need to approve the actual contract first.
Okay. Next, we have discussed a possible action on approval of line item transfers.
Yes, we do have one from Constable 3, where will be $1,300, $900 from return maintenance, and $400 from office supply, and then going into this continuing education line.
I move to approve the line item transfer.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You'll say aye down here?
Said aye.
Sure. Okay. Motion passes. Next, we have discussing possible action approval of the second ARPA installments for East Medina's SUD and Medina River West Water Supply Company. Mr. Alexander,
Yes, sir.
tell us how you're spending this money
We have spent the first,
in 2 minutes or less.
sure, we spent the first dollar, we've purchased a fixed base generator for the Creekwood water system, which we recently took over. And we've actually put the rest towards the construction of a 500,000 gallon water storage tank. Kind of a 701. You've seen some of the stuff we're doing. We have a new 250,000 gallon elevated tank on County Road 4516. We have a new half million gallon one on 5701 to improve service. Yes, sir.
Okay, and then we have Medina River West Water Supply Corporation. You're not
Yes, sir.
them.
No, sir.
So they also, and you check these, Edward, everything's
Yes.
good?
Even though everything's redacted?
Say that again?
Even though everything's redacted?
Yes. We actually redacted it.
Looping all over.
You redacted it.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay, it wasn't Bruce.
Auditor says it's good, so.
And the Medina River West, that's their final payment.
Right, they only got 90-something
They got
thousand to start
90-something.
out, right? Okay.
Move we approve the second ARPA installment.
And also gonna.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussion possible action on approval of accounts payables.
Yes, the total is $1,262,273.51. And we have two add-ons for the East Medina and the Medina River West payments, which total $246,167.53.
Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
So the roofing one, the 145,000, Debbie, that's actually insurance, right?
I'm sorry.
The 145,000 for the PMR roofing, is that an insurance?
Yes,
It goes into the 12 fund and back out?
correct.
Okay.
New backhoe again?
What's that?
My new backhoe?
Yeah, that's when we bought back in February last year. I wasn't supposed to be here until November this year, and so we're
Real pretty right now.
We need to borrow. Move we approve accounts payable, including the 2 add-ons, and not see any exceptions.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed any possible action on approval of disbursement of funds since the last Commissioners Court.
Total was $51,678.76 for utilities.
I'm going to approve the disbursements of funds since last week.
Second that. It looks like this list is getting almost as big as the other list, isn't it? Looks like this list is getting almost as big as our regular list.
A lot of utilities around here. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have visitors' public comment, and we have Ms. Julie Clark with the Medina County Republican Party. Ms. Clark, come on up.
My name is Julie Clark. I am here representing the Medina County Republican Party. Our borders are being invaded. As your elected Republican officials, you've had weeks to act to protect the people in this county and the people in the state of Texas, because our open borders affect everyone in this country. The failure to secure our border is intentional, stemming from a deep desire among various industries to attain cheap labor at the expense of U.S., national security, safe communities, low-wage labor markets, and a sensible immigration system that serves the interests of the citizens. Politicians in both parties repeatedly push amnesty in defiance of their constituents and citizens in an attempt to benefit powerful entrenched interests and secure potential long-term political power for a surge of new voters. It is not only unlawful and anti-ethical to the oaths that elected officials have sworn, but it also deeply is destructive to the vitality of American communities. Violent international drug cartels operating as little more than narco-terrorists control large sections of the United States southern border. These criminals operate highly sophisticated human trafficking rings, flood American communities with drugs and violence, and serve as a connective tissue that keeps violent criminal gangs like MS-13 in business in major American cities. It is clear that the Biden administration has no interest in pursuing the federal policies necessary to secure our southern borders. Therefore, given the federal government's lack of duty, it is now incumbent on governors and states to fill the void and do what federal officials and lawmakers refuse to do. End the invasion at the southern U.S. border and restore both order and sovereignty.
Yeah.
There can be no dispute that the influx of well over 1.3 million illegal aliens this calendar year alone, and thousands of pounds of fentanyl and other deadly narcotics facilitated by the widespread human trafficking efforts and violent international drug cartel, constitutes an invasion of the southern border of the United States. These cartels effectively have operational control over huge sections of our southern border. Data provided by the Border Patrol in March 2021 estimated that cartel and human trafficking organizations are earning nearly $14 million a day moving people illegally across the southern border. These violent international cartels are raking in billions of dollars every year off the pain and suffering and abuse of migrants. Most legal drugs and narcotics enter the U.S. through our southern border. The DEA reports also outline that fentanyl, a deadly narcotic that is smuggled into the U.S. by violent international drug cartel, is primarily responsible for fueling the ongoing opioid epidemic. This killed nearly 37,000 Americans in 2019 and a horrific almost 60,000 people in 2020. Governors and state legislatures have a duty to their constituents, their fellow citizens, neighbors, and families by the oath that you have taken to uphold both the United States Constitution and the state constitution. In your response that illegal aliens do not constitute an invasion. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 explicitly permits state board powers to be exercised if the state is invaded. The clause says, no state shall without the consent of Congress lay any duty to tonnage, keep troops, or ships of war in peacetime, enter any agreement or compact to any other state or foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger that it will not admit delay. There is no limitation within the text of what constitutes an invasion. The framers were keenly aware that the threats to the states were not limited to foreign armies from Great Britain or Spain, but also some nations of Indians, pirates, and other external lawless groups intended on inflicting harm or seeking other ends at the expense of Americans.
Ms. Clark, just to interrupt. Citizens, we heard for 3 minutes. We've already let you go about 4 or 5, so I don't know if you're about to wrap it up.
I'm almost done.
Okay.
I'll finish up. Therefore, the original meaning of the word invasion contained in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution encompasses all external threats to the safety, security, or well-being of the United States and their citizens. We are happy to hear that Medina County received TDM grants funds to protect our community. We would like to know how much these grants were and an itemized list of where these funds were used. In the proclamation referenced by Abbott, this only discusses Section 418.014. We would like for you to file an invasion under Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. It is your duty and your oath of office to protect the people in this county. We need you to file a declaration of invasion for our county.
Thank you. Next, I have Sheena Rodriguez. Hi, Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you,
And
guys.
I'm sorry, I should have told Ms. Clark 3 minutes, but our rule is 3 minutes, if you can do
I
that.
gotcha. Yeah,
Perfect.
I-
Thank you.
Yes. So I am Sheena Rodriguez. I'm with Alliance for Safe Texas, Secure the Border, and I'm also from Tarrant County, so from several hours away. As a matter of fact, about 7. As a matter of fact, 2 of our counties, surrounding counties, just recently declared this as an act of invasion. Because you see, while you guys are feeling the brunt of it down here, they don't stay here, right? The drugs, some of them do. The people, some of them do. The cartel, they're everywhere. As a matter of fact, they're heavily present in my area. So I know that it was referenced before that that some of the counties up there that I've recently declared don't really have a basis to do so. But I'm here to stand here and say that in Collin County, one of my neighboring counties, it's over a 458% increase according to that share of fentanyl-related deaths. Tarrant County up 60%. We've had human smuggling cases in my county and the surrounding counties. I could show you photos recently sent from a Wise County citizen where they just declared, showing where some of these illegals, still with cartel wristbands, were recently dumped off there. This impacts all of Texas. We have to stand united. We have to say, yeah, this is a very real problem. And declaring this as the act of invasion that it is, or urging our state elected officials and our governor to do so, we are doing exactly that. And it's not necessarily targeting the illegal aliens that are pouring over and incentivized to come. No, it is targeting the cartel criminal organizations that are in every single town, every single neighborhood, across every single one of our 254 counties. We need you to do what is right to protect your citizens that have elected you guys in your respective offices, because this isn't a partisan issue. This isn't about politics. People are dying. Our children are dying. Our children from our areas are the ones that are being recruited to come smuggle from the DFW area. We're a targeted area. This impacts all of us. So I drove over 7 hours to stand in front of you and represent the North Texas area to say that we support you guys in supporting and defending your citizens, and also that we want to come together as a united Texas because it does impact every single one of us. So thank you guys very much for everything that you guys do. And please do what is morally right. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Brittany. So, Commissioners, just so I can comment on this, if you remember in the last court, I was going to rewrite the declaration that was sent to me by Ms. Clark. And Ms. Clark, just to correct you on the law, the word invasion as defined by the federal courts does not include illegal immigrants. So when you read the governor's declaration of disaster, he carefully does not use the word invasion, but he does put Medina County into that. And subsequent to last meeting, we were added to the governor's declaration of disaster, which is about as strong as we can get as far as protecting. The piece of paper that we would pass in this court wouldn't be worth the paper it's written on because it would not do anything because we are already being protected under the governor's declaration of disasters. So while this court can, and if they want me to, I'll write something up that will state it, but it will not state that we are being invaded. It will not incorrectly state the law like the declaration of disaster that I've been provided does. And I've sent it to you in an email, my response, and I'd be happy if the press would like to have copies of it. You can have copies. I sent Ms. Clark a response yesterday explaining to her why passing a declaration in this court would have zero bearing on what's going to happen because the state of Texas has already passed that declaration of disaster. And the governor, I've talked to the governor's office, I've talked to TDM, and they are doing everything they can within the law to protect our borders. Our sheriff is doing everything within the law to protect our borders. He's constantly pulling people over. We just approved 6 more deputies for him to hire to help protect the citizens of this county. But I'm just saying the document itself that y'all are asking to pass has zero meaning to the governor's office or to what's going on in this county that isn't already being done. So.
Well, we'd like to address that if we can. Can we respond to your comments, please?
Sure.
Okay, would you like to go?
Yes, actually, while you are correct, and this is with all due respect, please understand that. While you are correct, the paper in itself does not have any necessary weight behind it, right? It's the fact that, like I said, we are standing as a united Texas. I would like, if you can, specifically to cite where exactly it says that we are unable to do more. I understand that there have been some cases that have been cited. Those are opinions back in the 1990s. Those are not law. And we are not, again, trying to...
Let me correct you.
Yes.
There are federal appellate court decisions
Yes,
that are footnoted on Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution in California, Colorado, and Texas, and that is law. I'm sorry, that's law.
I'm familiar with ones that you're citing.
Okay.
And I have friends that are litigation lawyers. They are actually in D.C. Those are opinions. Those are opinions and interpretations. And if you can, please elaborate on a case that has ever been ruled on, or an opinion has been released on, stating that we cannot declare an invasion against the criminal cartel organizations because one does not exist. And that is exactly what this declaration that we are urging the governor to do, right? And I think it is trying to target. And I think the thing is, by those, and the executive order that was signed, right, by Governor Abbott, declaring this as a state of emergency.
It was a proclamation.
Proclamation, forgive me, yes, sir. That states that this was, state of emergency, that several counties, as a matter of fact, Throckmorton County, not too far from my area, was a part of. They did receive TDM funding for their local government and officials and sheriff's departments to be able to help deal with this influx, right, and however they're affected directly. And so while I don't see, like, you are correct, there's no direct, it doesn't have too much meaning except to urge and show that we are United Texas, but the benefits of it is also allows y'all's county to once again be eligible for potentially more TDM funding and grants. So I know that you guys are dealing again with a massive influx like everyone else is. We all need, and I'm sure the sheriff's office would also appreciate more funding, which by simply declaring this and saying, yeah, you know what, we're recognizing that this is a problem, and we are wanting to stand with the rest of Texas and wanting to urge, like, let's go ahead, this is scary, right? This is unprecedented. It's never been done, and I understand that. It's all correct. But there is no opinion, there is no court case, again, specifically stating that, yeah, we cannot go after the cartel organizations, which this does, but there is benefits to this county, which, you know, once the information has been received, if this county has already received some type of grant funding out of the last, you know, joining that last declaration, I mean, we all need help. Every county needs help, and that is the benefit as well, to almost reinstituting and then just once again encouraging. There's nothing illegal about doing so.
Just so you know,
Yes, sir.
Medina County was listed under the governor's proclamation because of the influx of, we're 4 counties away from the border, but every day our sheriff is fighting somebody, stopping somebody, pulling people over. That's why we were on there. If I had to guess, Wise County, Throckmorton County, and Tarrant County, where you're from, are probably not listed because they're not necessarily, in the governor's eyes, in a disaster area, as is Medina County in the governor's eyes. We are in a disaster area. And I think, just so you know, by us being on that proclamation, it does open us up to all the TDM grants, the Lone Star grants, and whatever else we've applied for that Edward, our Beverly's working on. We are available, and they're available to us because the governor has put us on that list.
Yes, sir.
And again, I would, if you want to have, I'm a recovering lawyer, okay, I don't practice anymore, but I was a litigation lawyer when I was practicing, and I promise you those, you call them opinions, they're federal court affirmed decisions made by a federal court. That is the law of the land, unless somebody else comes in and changes it. So, you know, your litigation lawyers, if they want to call me and explain to me the law, I'd be more than happy to talk to them. But I'm just going to tell you, when you have a federal court case, it's in an appellate court, and they make a decision, that's the law. Until some other court comes over, probably the Supreme Court, and changes the law, that is the law.
Yes, sir.
And I, as a lawyer, am destined to follow the law. The governor, in his declaration, just so you know, he very carefully never used the word invasion.
Yes, sir.
Because the governor's a former attorney general of the state of Texas. He's got an attorney general working for him. And I'm certain that that's why he didn't use the word invasion, because yes, while we are being invaded, I don't disagree with you, it doesn't fit the law, and that's probably why you wrote it the way you wrote it.
Yes, sir. If I may really quickly, and I apologize for taking up so much time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for hearing me
It's
out.
fun to
Like I
debate.
said, I drove quite a while, right? So thank you very much. Throckmorton County, which is in North Central, actually was on that. And again, why? Because while we're not directly close, you're hundreds of miles away, as presented before, we are directly impacted, even more so in different ways. And also, I understand what you're saying and I respect it. But with all due respect, again, being an avid pro-lifer, Roe versus Wade was once an opinion that was released, and that was just overturned. And unfortunately, right now we're at a state where, with our children dying, and people being exploited, and children being trafficked, claiming and saying that it's a federal issue simply because it has never been done before is no longer an acceptable answer to the children's mother that just lost her son to a fentanyl overdose, which I know several of them, and to the children that are being sex trafficked through our state, to the woman who was just shut up on Highway 90 by another smuggler, right? Over 10 rounds going through, it's just not an acceptable answer, so
I agree
understand.
with you.
Yes.
And just to kind of,
Yes,
I
sir.
will just tell you, I was in DC in February. I sit on a national board, and people from all over the United States are on that board with me. And I did a presentation almost reflecting what Ms. Clark said about the number of fentanyl, how much fentanyl is coming across, the number of underage minors coming across, everything else. I wouldn't say it fell on deaf ears, but it fell on dumb ears. Because nobody even knew that was going on except us here in Texas.
Yeah.
Because our federal government is where we need to turn to.
And they don't care.
The state is doing everything within the state's power. Our federal government is they don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
you just said it.
They don't care. They don't care about us, they
We
don't
have an
care.
administration that is willing to just keep people coming across and not care about it. And the only way we can change that is hopefully in November. We'll have a new group of people in there that will have some power, but it won't happen permanently until November 2 years.
Well, I don't have,
Unfortunately.
I don't
And we don't have that.
Right, I'm just a mom. And I'm just saying that this is Texas. And while this is unprecedented in uncharted waters, we need bold leadership. And like you said, we cannot depend on the federal government. So while it's scary and unprecedented, it can be done. It can be done. And so I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And I know that your constituents are just as concerned, if not even more concerned. And we're asking you guys, as the elected officials, as their elected officials, to be bold and
Have you
brave.
been to your commissioner's court
Have I been to
in
my
Tarrant
commissioner's
County?
court? I know something on it. I have not actually been there.
Okay, just curious. All right,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your driving this
Thank
morning.
you. God
Thank
bless
you. Okay, we're going to stand in recess until 10 o'clock. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the 10 o'clock version of the regular Commissioners Court meeting for August the 11th. I apologize, but there were 3 folks that signed up to talk, and they weren't heard because they were sitting over there. And, okay, I'll blame it on her. It was her fault. Okay. So if you guys would like to talk, I'll give you your opportunity. And I have Gary Franceschini. I said that wrong, probably. Huh?
He's not here.
He's not here. Okay, Pat Aiken, come on up.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing us to speak a little bit. My speech is not as lengthy as the other 2 that were just here. But I'm Pat Aiken. I'm a resident and live in Castroville. And I'd like to address the Commissioners Court and the audience regarding Medina County's overwhelming problem with illegal immigrants and terroristic cartels on a daily basis. It's also reported in newspapers, news, and reports from the sheriff's offices. Our citizens are being threatened on a regular basis. And I personally know of friends who actually have had damages to their property, seen the railroads, trains stopped, and calling the sheriff's office about that, letting the illegals off at different locations in the county, and then seeing buses, unmarked buses, who are transporting the illegals from the border through our county. As we all know, the Biden administration's open border policies are failing our country and our county sovereignty. The declaration of invasion is being supported by several Texas counties to encourage our governor to acknowledge and to do more against the illegal invasion, because invasion is like enormous numbers of people coming, of the immigration and the cartel terroristic activities, and to further impose new policies to return all immigrants back across our borders. So it's not just that we just need to take these immigrants and move them all over the country. I think we need to close our borders and have more control over the borders, and I think Texas can do that over the federal regulations. So things can always change in government and legal situations. So I do encourage the Medina County commissioners to also take a look at this seriously and also file a regulation as well. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Aiken. We have Gary Collins. Is Gary Collins still here? Okay. All right, with that, we're going to move on to the first item on the agenda, that's public hearing on the extension of the term of the tax increment reinvestment zone number 2 in Medina County. Is there anyone here for this public hearing? Going once, going twice, closed. All right, next we're going to go to the next one. It's discussing a possible action on approval of an order of the Commissioners Court of Medina County, Texas, extending the term of the tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, Medina County, Texas, pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, and addressing other matters in a direct connection therewith. Mr. Benford.
Clay Benford, representing the county as special counsel. This is the item that we brought to this court a month ago. This is the extension of the tax increment reinvestment zone for the Petranco Ranch subdivision, Petranco Ranch 1 and 2. It's part of the initial agreement with this developer back in 2013. The county agreed to put a TERS in place to help offset the cost of public improvements. The tax collections, because of various exemptions, had not allowed them to meet projections, and so the request was made to extend the term of that collection period by 5 years. Does not increase the amount, does not impact the tax rate collection. The agreement was that the first to occur of the expiration date or the set amount of money would, when they hit the first of those two, the TERS disappears and all that tax value comes back to the county. The maximum amount does not change. This is instead just an extension of the duration for collection to allow them to meet their projections. The exemptions that have come into play since the inception of that TERS have caused their projections to not be met. Happy to answer any questions.
Could you slow down and explain why we need to extend this?
Sure. So when we were, about a month ago, we went through this in quite a bit of detail about when they started this at inception, they had a cost recovery pro forma, meaning that they thought they were going to put value in the ground in this development in certain years that was going to produce a tax increment in comparison to what the property was that would allow them to recover a set amount of costs of their infrastructure for water and sewer treatment plant, sidewalks, streets, things of that, all public improvements. They put more houses more quickly at higher values than they had projected. What they didn't expect were the changes in Texas law over the last 8 years that exempted a number of disabled veterans from paying taxes. So even though they put more value and delivered a better subdivision than we hoped that they would when we put this in place, the increment is not generating as much money as they thought it would. So they're not able to recover in the 30-year period how much they thought they would. So what they've asked is, instead of it being a 30-year deadline, for it to go out an additional 5 years so that they can catch up for what is now exempt property from what they thought would be in place at the beginning.
If you recall, Mr. Beck, something like 38% of the buildings there do not collect taxes because of disabled vet exemptions.
I'll make a motion, we look at extending the term.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Did you say aye?
I did.
Okay. Motion is passed. Thank you. Next, we have discussed and take possible action on approval of the tax order for professional services from Westwood Professional Services. I've asked Mr. Benford to hang around to re-explain so we all know what we expect to happen here. And then we have Westwood here if there's any questions. So go ahead.
Sure. Clay Benford, representing the county as special counsel. So the traffic issue on the east side of Castroville coming in from Highway 90 is an issue that impacts the entirety of the county. There is a task order that's in place that is the continuation of an interlocal agreement that was adopted last year between the county and the city of Castroville to jointly explore traffic mitigation around the city of Castroville to ultimately find an alternative route so people don't have to go through the middle of town, resulting in miles-long backstops of traffic lights coming both east and west into town. The first leg of that is the subject of this task order, which would go from a rough route would be east side of Castroville, north of Highway 90 around Victory Lane, and coming out on 471 north of Castroville. So as part of the interlocal agreement, the city of Castroville and Medina County will split the cost of this. And so it's not just the initial development, the design, but what the design would actually produce from a proposed project plan, those costs would be split as well. The reason why it would be split is there is a significant portion of the proposed route that is outside the city limits of Castroville. But it does go through proposed development tracts that would be annexed into the city. But it still would not cover the entirety of the route, so you have some of the routes that would be within the municipal boundaries of Castroville, but also outside, which would be in the county territory, which is the reason for the proposed joint sharing of this. The city and the county have to take the initial responsibility for payment, but that is not the only source of funding. Each of these developers, as they develop their property, have road budgets within their build plans that we would ask them to contribute to whatever overall cost of project that is proposed, which would offset the liabilities of both the city and the county pro rata. In addition to that, the federal infrastructure bill, the engineers have told us that there is additional money that would be available or could be available to ultimately fund part of this construction. So part of this task order is for those engineers to go after and seek that additional funding that could come in to offset the local burden of this project. So what this task order is it gets this planning going so that we can go to the developers and seek additional cost share, so that we can go to the government to seek additional, the state and federal government to seek additional infrastructure dollars. But the city and the county are initially obligating themselves for an $850,000 tax order, which is $425,000 apiece. We think that ultimately the cost of the road will be split by multiple other parties, as I've described, but this is the first step. This is only for planning and only for design. It is not for construction. That would be considered at a later date based on the results of what is designed and also the alternative financial sources that we think we bring into this.
So construction will be based on this design?
Correct.
So you wouldn't have to go out for more planning, just based on the design?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'd also just comment, I had a meeting, Mayor Schroeder and I yesterday had a meeting with Tony Gonzalez, and made him aware, so when the engineers have this plan put together, Tony's aware of it and knows what we're trying to do, and will be helping us to find that money, so that's...
I hope he does, because you mentioned city, county, developers, and federal, but for some reason TxDOT wasn't mentioned in there, and I'm hoping TxDOT will get on board.
So it's not a TxDOT road, but TxDOT would be involved because the money from the federal government flows through TxDOT. So they would be involved in this as well.
Right, it'd be to their specs, more or less.
Okay.
We approve the task order.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Did the engineers, are y'all good? Y'all don't need to say anything? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Ready for rain?
Yes, we did earlier. Where's the Reverend? The Reverend did it. Outside the book of Ezekiel, I believe it was. Reverend, right? Next, we have discussed any possible action on preliminary approval of vacated leaf plat lots 36 and 35A of Mountain Valley subdivision located in precinct 1.
I think they're adding the two pieces to one.
Yes.
Sounds good to me. I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed and take possible action on preliminary approval of Mount Medina County subdivision located in precinct 3 at the intersection of County Road 679, County Road 5715.
Morning, Judge, morning, Commissioners. Ray Lockett here, representing Mills and Miles Engineering.
Where's Speedy?
Sir?
You're not Speedy, are you?
No.
Where's Speedy?
I'm Ray.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Mills and Myers Engineering, we prepared this Medina Verde plat intersection of County Road 715 and 679. This is in precinct 3. I met with the commissioner out on site to discuss kind of our intent of the property and draw up the preliminary plat plans for the property. As far as utility goes, it's Medina Water, Medina Electric, and both of those are good. I think Bruce is here to
We're good with the water.
walk us out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So preliminary plats, we're going to be platting 36 1-acre lots. We will be building about 1,000 linear foot of new street. That'll serve 18 lots. The rest of the lots will have frontage along existing county roadways. And there are some improvements to the existing county roadway, with some culvert additions that we'll be including per our discussion with the commissioner on site.
Yeah, I'm fine. Our meeting, they suggested those improvements and we jumped on that opportunity. There's it's not in a flood zone, but there's lots of drainage issues in that flat land down there. So some improvements to the culverts on 5715 are in order and they're going to take care of that. So, and they're meeting all our requirements otherwise. So I will go ahead and make a motion that we approve preliminary approval of the Medina version.
Second. Motion in 2 seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. I only asked because I've talked to Speedy on the phone more than once. I've never seen him before, so I and it's not, you're not Speedy. Okay. Thank you. Next, we're tabling number 19, number 20, discuss a possible action on acceptance of the following maintenance bonds. 206279 Hunters Ranch Subdivision Phase 3, 20628 Hunters Ranch Subdivision Unit 2.
Yep, this one.
It's yours? You good with the
I'm
amounts?
good with them out, I'm good with the street as well.
All right.
I'll make that motion. Okay, approve both of them.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on approval of a 6-month extension to the preliminary plat of Lebanon Park subdivision located in precinct 2.
That's me. Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning.
Speedy's in the office today.
Speedy's in the office today. Tell us your name.
I'm Tyler Mills. Tyler Mills. I'm his business partner.
Tyler Meals.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you each Myers your meals.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right.
We're just looking for an extension on this one. Construction's about to
You
wrap.
got it, brother.
All right.
Is that good enough?
Yes, sir.
Long, everybody's been through?
That's a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Thank you very much. Tell Speedy hello.
Make sure you put that right, you got it.
You got
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action approval of an interlocal agreement with Kendall County for DPS crime lab services. Mr. Hagan, come on out, please.
Jeff, you want to join? Good morning, Judge, Commissioner, voters.
You're so
So if I could just have, I know this is a long meeting, I'm going to make this quick, but if I could maybe give you about a 2-minute background. What this is dealing with is Kendall County reached out to us about splitting a drug analyst position with them funding it. About a year ago, we were having a really difficult time with the amount of time that DPS was taking to get drug results on felony narcotics cases. So what happened at that time, it was taking about 9 months to a year to get lab results on the case. Well, that presented a lot of problems: CJIS compliance, speedy trial issues, housing costs, and everything else. So I actually at that time reached out to our state representative, Andrew Murr, and discussed it with him. At that time, he said this would require a special session. It's probably a funding issue. I think he was aware of the issue. I talked to TDCAA, which is the Texas District County Attorney Association. They were aware of the issue. I think enough prosecutors across the state probably were saying, hey, this is problematic. So luckily now what's happened is DPS has contacted us, prosecutors, and said, instead of using this one lab, say Austin, do you mind if we outsource them across the state, Amarillo and so forth? And I said, absolutely, anything you can do to get me those drug results quicker would be helpful. So now they are coming in quicker. We still have maybe about 90 to 120 day lag time. Does that sound right, Jeff? So that's still somewhat problematic. When I spoke to the district attorney in Kendall County, She said that they're getting them back in about 30 days. And additionally, they will test more than one substance. An example of that is, I recently had a case, individual was arrested for methamphetamine and suspected heroin. What DPS will currently do to avoid their backlog, they will look at the highest amount of substance in that case, which was methamphetamine, and they'll test that, which is 1 to 4 grams, third-degree felony. They didn't test the less than a gram, and I would have to write a letter and wait another 3 to 4 months to get that test if we want to prosecute that case. So that's problematic. I will tell you that about a year ago, on a scale of 1 to 10, the need for this was probably 15. Right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's still up there, but it's definitely probably, I would estimate maybe a 7 or 8 right now. It's still needed. And I will give you the good and the bad and some figures about this, and I'll let Jeff add to any of this. I do have the jail census report, and I have a copy for each of you if you want to see it. But I will tell you right now, in our Medina County Jail, you have 39 drug cases in jail awaiting labs. So why is that significant? Well, if we figure $50 a day, and I think that's minimal to house some of those, I think some of the out-of-county housing we're doing is much more than that. $50 a day times 39 is $1,950. If you say we get our labs back in 90 days, which is about what they're running minimum now, that's $175,500 to house those people. So the cost that we would be looking at to split this lab tech position with Kendall County, it comes out over a 4-year contract. If I recall correctly, it's about $400,000 over 4 years, but we're splitting that with Kendall County, which means it's about $200,000 over 4 years, which breaks down to about $50,000 a year, which I think the figures will still work out greatly in Medina County's favor. But in addition to that, we can't just look at housing costs. Let's talk about those housed out of county. You have transport costs for those housed out of county. We know that it takes staff and fuel to run up to Kendall County or Kerr County, where some of these folks are, down to Wilson, where some of these folks are housed. So that's an additional cost. You have, additionally, when they're not indicted in 90 days, you have the public defender's office or whatever defense attorney filing a writ of habeas corpus. That's additional work on the jail staff, because as we know, the law says if the state's not ready for trial in 90 days, they're entitled to a bond reduction. That's additional work on the court staff. And remember, the longer these people are in our custody, the longer Medina County faces the potential for medical expenses and so forth. Additionally, a big issue that Judge is aware of is CJIS compliance. So if we have an open arrest report and we can't indict these people, we have a 5-year compliance window, and if we're not 90% compliance, Medina County can lose grant money from the state. We face consequences from the state, which is ironic because the state's saying we have to comply or we can lose our grant money, but it's the state not getting us these lab reports, right? So that's one issue, is CJIS compliance and the fact that they'll test more than one substance. So I will tell you, I do have to full disclosure, we do have, and the agencies I think are turning this around. I know they're short staffed, and we're blessed with great law enforcement here in our county. We currently have 63 lab reports in our office where the agencies haven't brought us a case yet. So there's some work we can do on that as well. So I don't want to tell you all these are just waiting labs. There are 63 cases we're waiting for the agency to turn in the case. Now, I think that number is going to improve, and the reason I say that is the 2 largest cities in our county, which is Castroville and Hondo, have new chiefs, and they have made it an absolute priority to get cases turned in quickly. So I think that 63, that number, is going to improve. My chief investigator is here, Deborah Langford, and she is just absolutely vigilant on contacting the agency saying, I need these cases, I need these cases. So I think that 63 is going to improve. I just want the commissioners to know that we can improve it there, and it's not all waiting lab, and that's just a full disclosure. Jeff and I are glad to answer any questions, and I will tell you also that we are exploring the option, when somebody takes probation, we're exploring the option of how much restitution can we assess as a condition of probation, and what that means is we can then go to that individual who's placed on probation and say, you owe Medina County restitution for part of the fee we paid to this analyst. So we can also recoup some of it that way. I think, as I said, the need a year ago was 15 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's still there, and I think it'll still work out in Medina County's favor greatly. But it's not, the situation is not as dire as it was a year ago. And I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and answer any questions y'all have.
The only thing I would add is that we don't keep everybody who's arrested for a drug charge in jail for 90 days. We PR bond out the ones that we can earlier, but there are some individuals who we don't want out. But this process would let us, rather than have to deal with, do we get them a PR bond or how do we deal with that? We could go from having to deal with a PR bond at 90 days to having the case completely resolved in 90 days and having them on probation and be collecting their money and so it would be a big benefit to the county to be able to speed this process. But like Mark said, we're having some difficulties, and I know law enforcement is working on it. We're having some difficulties getting the cases in from law enforcement at this time. But with this in place, it would help us put more pressure on them to get us those cases and get those resolved.
Correct. We'd be touching a case less times, which I think equates to less expense. So like Jeff said, we could, those worthy of probation will be on probation, paying restitution. Those that need to go to prison will be up the road to prison quicker.
Questions?
Yes. This is great. It would
Somebody on the DEA guy himself.
Well, it would definitely expedite the process, which is what we're looking at, and get these clicks that they need to be. I've got a question that doesn't relate to dope, and you probably know which case I'm talking about. In the case of like a forensic audit that is approaching the statute of limitations, do we have any pull or influence on getting something like that from the state any quicker?
DNA evidence, are you talking about?
I'm talking about theft, embezzlement.
Oh, forensic audit. Okay, well that would, this situation is drug analyst, correct. So sometimes we are frustrated by the delay.
5 years.
Correct. So sometimes waiting for a delay caused by the state, it's very frustrating. That's why I reached out to our state representative and said, we need help.
Especially to the people or organizations who are out this money. But anyway, that's the direction from there.
Correct. But to answer your question, this is a drug analyst, and so yes, I understand, and we are often just as frustrated as you, and that's why a year ago or so I called the state representative saying we need help in this situation.
Well, if this will help us out, I'm all for it.
Question. They will qualify as an expert to testify if you ever need one?
Yes, they will, because they are a DPS analyst. We're just funding the position. But also, if there's any question about the testimony fee, in visiting with my office manager, Vicki Springer, who does a lot of the communication with the state comptroller, we recoup most of that cost anyway for them to come down to give testimony.
I did the math. If we can, out of those 39 people in jail, if you can get 2.7 of them out with this, it pays for itself.
Right, and if we can collect restitution.
10% will more than pay for it.
Correct. And if we collect restitution, if we're looking into that, it's going to pay for it much quicker.
Okay.
I'll make the motion, we put the interlocal agreement with Medina County.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes. You may be excused. Thank you. Next, we have discussed a possible action on interlocal agreement between Vanderbilt, Western Kimball, and Medina for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. This is the agreement that basically says Medina County will be the home office for the PDO effective October 1. As you all know, we're moving it to Medina County from Kirk County. This agreement states we had to modify the last one to this one a little bit because the numbers that the OCA gave us initially stating that Medina County would use it 22% of the time, and I think Vanderbilt County 12% of the time, Kirk County 38% of the time. The actual usage turned out to be pretty far off. In terms of Medina County used it a whole lot more than they said we would. Kirk County used it a whole lot less than they said they would. So what this assuming every year that's gonna happen. What this agreement does, it rewrites it to say on June 1st of every year, Edward and his group are gonna get a number of the percentages that each county uses it, and will adjust the usage number on October 1 to be amortized over a 12-month period, so nobody has to write a big check. It just gets expense starting the next budget cycle, and that's what this agreement says. I think everybody's in agreement with it. It's very fair to make sure, so if our numbers drop next year, we'll get a credit. This year, we got a debit, but it's gonna change all the time. So,
I'm going to approve the interlocal agreement between Van Der, Gillespie, and Kerr.
motion in 2 seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Bruce. Next, we have discussed a possible action on acceptance of grant number ST23001 for the Texas Indigent Defense Commission for the fiscal year 23 Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. This is a $2.3 million grant, consistent with the plans they gave us. If you recall, the grant every year is the total cost. If you go to the last page, I think. Bottom of this page 10, the total cost for next year is $3.5 million. The matching for the 5 counties is $1.187 million. So it's a 2/3 or 1/3 grant. It's going to be like that for as long as they say they keep going. And so what happens is Medina County's share of that is going to be 30% based upon our current usage, plus an adjustment. So
it's going to follow, what we get out of this will follow what our investment is every year.
yes.
Okay, good, I'm good with that.
So, and just so y'all know, the Public Defender's Office, according to our 2 judges up there, now that they're here, they don't want them to ever leave. It's working great. Darcy, I think Darcy sits on the board with us. Everybody is extraordinarily happy with it. They move cases. The non-visible stuff is the number of people that are in jail, because they're moving them out a lot faster, because they're getting justice a lot faster. So I need a motion.
Make the motion when you accept the grant.
No, they're good.
Motion and a second. Any other discussions? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next. Thank you. Next, we have discussed a possible action on acceptance of grant 21223C12 Indigent Texas Indigent Defense for the fiscal year 23 Indigent Defense Coordinator Program. What year are we on this one?
This is the last one.
So this is the last year. If y'all remember, this started an 80-20 grant. Now we're down to 20-80. All right? But that, I will tell you, and I think Darcy can concur, Medina County is probably eons ahead of the other 4 counties in the public defenders program, because we have pretrial services, we have an indigent defense coordinator, which is probably one of the reasons why we use it more. And I bet you we'll move, and we have a much smaller jail than most of them too, in the same population. So all in all, it works very well. Darcy's office does a great job of keeping us going. So need a motion. 25.
I'm going to accept the grant from the Texas Indigent Defense Grant for year 23.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I'm sure the courts are doing the due diligence, but I've always wondered what the parameters were for being indigent.
Darcy can give you the questionnaire that they have.
So there's we go by the federal government indigency guidelines, and then, our county, based off of what our judges want here, we do it's 125% of what the federal government says. So we give them another 25% on top of that. And really, it's not that much money. So I wouldn't be considered indigent, although I would consider myself indigent. So
You too.
I need a pay raise, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Y'all take it here.
All right. That's all. A motion in a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed the possible action on interlocal agreement with Devine ISD for campus security. So this is an update of the interlocal that's been in effect since 2005. Today, Medina Valley is ordering 3 more school resource officers, so they're gonna have 9, and sheriff's hiring them, and Medina Valley reimburses us for 9.5 months of the year, I think it is, of every expense, including auto.
I don't know if anybody can use that or not, but if they looked into the possibility of forming their own police force.
I'm sure they've discussed it. I know that Sheriff Brown and the brand new superintendent started a month ago. They're in conversation. You may ask the sheriff that question.
I move to approve the interlocal agreement with Medina Valley High School.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Next, we're going to table number 27. We go to number 28, discuss a possible action on acceptance of a list of additional election judges for the Republican Party for the November general election. Is it 2000? Is it this November or is it
This November.
this November?
This November.
Okay. And it says additional.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah. So you should have my list in front of you.
Now, is it in addition to the ones that already exist, or is this replacing?
We're replacing them. We cleaned the slate, and these are our new judges.
Judge, if I may,
Yes.
you may recall that the current list that we have was approved for a 2-year period. So Ms. Clark submitted this list. My understanding was as an addendum to that list. So I'll let her proceed with that.
Because it says additional workers, it doesn't say.
Well, under election law 202618, I can submit the list to you by July 31st. And this list that you have to go off of is the one that comes from the county chair. And so we're replacing the existing people, and this will be our new list.
Help me out, you said we had a 2-year agreement on the old ones, and when does that list end?
At the end of this year.
At the end of this year, so this is actually for next year's election?
No, it's for this year, it's for this August. It goes into
For
effect
November?
today. Yeah, November. Yeah, it goes into effect today when you guys approve it.
Okay. Is it, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
So I can tell you, Judge, that just the current list that she has submitted may not be enough individuals or workers to fill out all the spots that we have, that we need.
And they're still approved, so they're still on the list. But the thing is that we get to make the priority of the list of the people that are chosen. And so these people will actually go ahead of the current people that are already approved. So they can stay on there. It's just the priority list comes from us and the order of who we want to select in an order.
So this list right here, everybody's, you're walking on?
No.
With that being said, Judge, she's saying that she submitted the list. As the elections administrator, I go off of that list. I determine and I assign where they're going to go.
And that's fine, you can determine where they're going to go, but under the current Texas election law, it says that the commissioners must appoint the first eligible person and the judge and list of the party for the candidate, which is us. So the Republican Party submits a list, the Democratic Party submits a list. And you must go off of the list that we submit.
Just a question of
Sure.
procedure. Has Mr. Alinger resigned?
Yes, I went into effect June 13th.
Okay.
He didn't resign, his term ended.
Oh, I thought it was the January 1 and the January 1.
No, we go a different schedule. We go June to June because of the
Okay.
election.
The March primary, they ran, or she ran.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So county sheriff's take off is June 13th.
June 13th. So are you back in? Congratulations.
Really excited about it too.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or motions?
I'll make a motion to accept the list of additional election judges. Is that what it should be, additional or replacement? Or replacement? Republican Party for November general election.
Yes. Is that going to be for a 2-year term? Because you guys have an option to do it for that.
Well, it didn't state that here, I just put it on there the way it was wrote.
Okay.
Well, whatever, if we need to come back and renew it, we probably would come back and renew it.
Yeah, we've never had a problem with that before.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, does that also include the Central County Station? Because I know that's a separate.
It's on the list, right?
It is.
We
but
just approved
just
what's on the
making
list,
sure.
so
Okay,
it
perfect.
should be everything.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have discussed the possible action on approval of agreement with Region 14 Education Center for debt book software from the auditor's office. Debt book does not sound like a word that I'd like to be around much.
Well, it's not, but it's something that I'm asking the commissioners court to get for the county to help us with 2 new standards that are effective for this fiscal year, GASB 87 and GASB 96. So in order to meet those standards, we have to give them more information as to how we record all our leases, which includes the Xerox machines, and then GASB 96, which is all our softwares, all the Tyler softwares, the precinct softwares, and although we do record them in there, we don't know how detailed they're going to want them. The reason I'm wanting this is not something that I typically request. I would rather do it in-house. The last year we had GASB 84, which was all fiduciary cash, and it was a lot more detailed than I expected to, which is why it took us much longer to complete the financial audit. So this year, I would like to get the software for 1 year and then know how much detail the auditors are going to request from us, get that structure, get that outline, and then moving on after that, we should have that structure to be able to do that on in-house. But we do have a lot of leases, we have a lot of softwares. In our software, we're not able to export all the details as far as terms. If we paid for the 12 months within the fiscal year, or if some of that should be accounted as debt and not as an expense within that fiscal year. So debt book's going to take all that information, all the contracts, they're going to break them out, put them into their software, and then we'll be able to just extract that information, provide it to our auditors, and know exactly how they're doing it, so that after the first year, hopefully we're able to do that in-house. And if we do need to get another year, then I'll bring it back here and let y'all know that this is something that we just need to keep doing, but hopefully we don't need to spend the $13,000 after the first year.
Are you gonna be able to edit this software, edit out the stuff you don't need?
We'll have access to it, but I don't want to edit it within that first year. I want them to do all the work. I make sure that we're just going to send them the information, send them the contracts, and they'll be able to look at it, pull what they need from the contracts, put it into the software. That's something that I want to manage. I know this $13,000 that I don't like to counter spend, but I don't want to touch it the first year. I want them to do all the work and then provide us with that information without us getting into it at all. But we'll be able to go in there and look at it.
Okay.
And it'll be hosted in their cloud.
This will be like one of the TV packages, you get all the crap you don't want.
Pretty much, yeah.
Discovery Channel? All right. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the agreement with Region 14.
No, sir.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have discussed a possible action approval of first amendment of the OEG contract 2219251-01 for the state automated victim notification service. This is a contract we already have in place.
This is just a name change. They got bought out by Experian. It's changing. It's like one word change within their name.
No dollar value to it.
No.
All right.
I move we approve the First Amendment contract.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, I don't think we're going to take any action yet on this approval. Discuss a possible action on approval and updated proposal from Prepare Protect Defend LLC for LifeSpot. Last Commissioners Court, we approved $26,000 for LifeSpot, which is the one that all the school districts will have on their phones, in the Sheriff's Department, and all law enforcement. I think we left out libel, is that correct? That's why. So there was going to be an amendment, however, they haven't given us a number, so we're just going to table it and expect there to be one next meeting, am I correct?
I hope so. We're waiting for Medina Valley and Devine to give us numbers.
Okay, so table that, but just so y'all have an update, we have the Hennis libel Natalia and Hondo are in. We're waiting on Medina Valley and the Hennis. And the number of 2,170, not the Hennis, Devine. The original number of 2173 is going to go up some small amount, but not a lot. But we still need to prove it.
So in other words, how many people want to click onto it is what it's going to be.
How many teachers, counselors, principals, how many people in a school? There's, for example, the Hennis has 70, Lyle has 325, Natalia has 225, and Hondo has 330. So Medina Valley's going to be the big one, with probably over 1,000, and Devine will probably be 300 plus or minus. So we're just waiting on those numbers to get here. Okay? All right. With that, we're going to table that. We're going to go to the next and discuss a possible action on approval memorandum of understanding with Medina County Health unit transfer of oral medication / medical material from the strategic national nation stockpile in the event of a public health emergency. This is just a renewal of a contract. If there ever is an emergency in Medina County, we will draw from the strategic nation stockpile. Exactly. So, I need a motion.
I move we approve the MOU with Medina County Health and as written.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Hey, Judge.
Yes, sir.
It's a national, not nation. I don't know if there's a piece of paper there somewhere that it needs to be corrected on.
It's probably national.
Yes, sir.
I said it both ways just in case, but it's written nation. Thank you. All right, motion and a second, right? Do we have a second, Randy?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on approval of purchase of agenda management system for Commissioners Court. Oh, wait. That is our, Commissioner Beck, I didn't bring this article. Our clerk did, so, but.
Back around the end of June, Jennifer, is it around the end of June, I think?
It's been a while.
It's been at least a month or more. We had are y'all talking about me?
Again?
In front of me?
I'm just talking to a guy that really loves paper, okay?
Please.
Go ahead.
Anyway, we had a conference, Keith, Jennifer, and myself with this company on this product. It's a really great product that we all are really in favor of using for Commissioners Court. It helps organize the agendas. It's actually more pro-agenda than it is Commissioner Court minutes. It does agendas, Commissioner Court minutes. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember everything it did.
It's paperless.
Since then. In here it has creates templates, agenda items. It stores everything. It makes it very easy to go back and search for agenda items, for minutes, for everything that you would need when you're looking for searching for something, to do open records requests, things of that sort. The cost, I think it's in the back here, is approximately $6,300, I guess is what it is. The public records module is a yearly cost of $3,000. Do you remember what he said about that? I don't remember what he said about that, but anyway, I really don't know what else to tell y'all about how to explain it to you, because it's just something you have to use in order to understand how it works. It would be a great use to Jennifer. Jennifer was really liked how it was set up and how it worked. It would be great use for Keith when preparing the agendas in the coming years that he's going to be judge. So it will be invaluable. I will tell you right now, yesterday I nearly had a physical meltdown because I was working on minutes and I lost everything that I was working on because my computer froze and it is all gone and I have to start over. So this would prevent that. So anyway, Jennifer and Keith would very much appreciate the approval of this purchase of the software.
I'll just make a comment. I sit on several boards, and I know that we're probably one of the few people still dinosaur back here on paper, because everybody's doing everything electronic these days.
Yeah. There are many counties throughout the state that do use this. That's how I found out about it, was on listserv through a lot of counties throughout the state of Texas that are using it. And they are very pleased with it. That's how I originally found out about this particular software.
You're telling me that I won't have this anymore?
No.
No.
You'll have a
You're telling me I
I could give you
won't have-
one, but you would
Okay,
not.
well, you can make me one.
You can still have a
Yeah,
copy, yes.
yeah, we can always make you a copy.
You can
Yes.
have a
But
copy.
we can also put you a tablet in front of you where you're able to do that.
And you can have a paper, you can print it all out
Mhm.
and have paper in front of you, or,
Yeah, if you want to go
right?
there, you'll let
Keep
you.
going.
Yes,
But that would be your responsibility.
yes.
I'll interject just a little bit.
Yeah.
I was in the presentation with them also, so a lot of it is about paperless, but also, I mean, you still can have all the documents, we can have it. To me, the bigger issue is really creating the agenda from the beginning. Today, if I want to go back and see 2 years ago what y'all did here today, and what created it, what documents are with it, we don't have that. She has minutes from the meeting, but that's really it. This actually captures all the documents that Jennifer has in front of you. And so 2 years from now, we go back and search a particular item, and it is the entire, there's the packet. We do not have that today.
Is that so often that you're searching back, trying to find documents?
Yes.
All the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this
Regular,
is
yeah.
really, to me, less about paperless, even though it's creating a record for us, than to have a very good record that we can go back years from now and see exactly what a previous group actually did. If we have a citizen come back and says, we agreed to this, it's like, no, here's all the documentation that was used to make the decision to support that. We do not have that today.
Does this offer us the ability to, when you send us the agenda, to read all of this
So,
necessary information before we come?
Yes.
you should, yes.
Yes.
So, it would start out, you would put in an official, you would have to go online or log into the
But
software.
bottom line, I would be able to read all of this before.
Yes,
That's correct.
yes, because an agenda item will not go on the agenda until whatever is needed to be attached is attached.
And and to the rest of the point is, 8 months later, if somebody came to you and about that agenda item 8 months earlier, you could pull it up from your office and look at that with them 8 months later.
And any agenda items you want on the agenda, you simply go in, you enter it in, send it to her, and it gets put on the agenda.
I would say on a regular basis, I go to her and say, didn't we pass this, or didn't we do this?
Yes.
And I have to
Didn't
go
something happen?
through
And
my PDF
she has to
scans
manually
and,
go back through everything.
Yes.
This actually makes the search all at.
And then
If it gives us the opportunity to sit here and read this mountain of stuff that we get every meeting,
Yes.
Yes.
then I think that would be a
Yes.
benefit.
And now, you just have to go pick it up.
And then Gina's part of it, like she said, she's still got to make her notes anywhere, but all of that stuff comes all the way across to hitting her computer with the agenda item, and she's there to keep all the notes as you go, and it just ties all of it right to that item. So rather than having to go back and totally redo them, basically.
Rather having to go back and listen to a recording and typing everything in, it's pretty much almost done at the end of Commissioner's Court.
Jennifer, did
Thank
you
you.
say that agenda item may not be added as
Well,
backup?
not for bills and things like that, but
No, I'm
contracts.
more about my reports.
I think we'll be okay on that part, but when it comes to the more legal stuff, contracts, that kind of thing, that's maybe.
Understood, because sometimes I'm not quite finished with
Right,
my reports
right,
by heart.
right, no,
And
this would
Debbie,
be,
not the only one.
The pastor did everything that
it was more brain
Who's gonna maintain the software? Is it gonna be you, or like the implementation part of it as well? Because $6,000 is not a lot of money for everything that it sounds like it's gonna do. Is it something that you're gonna control, or are they gonna be the ones that take the information?
They will. I think it's
They set it
a
up.
web-based.
They'll just set it up?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's going to be where all the officials will have a log into the system, and you will have to go in and request whatever items you want on the agenda. And either I'll have to approve it, or the judge or commissioner, whoever it pertains to. And then it will automatically be put in
Okay.
to like a template.
Yeah,
Like,
you
they
can do
will-
it, the agenda will go through her.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have the commissioner's court minutes part.
That's what I'm asking, so Jennifer's gonna be the one, like.
Yeah.
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
But I think the commissioner, like Commissioner Cooler's office, or Lydia, her office will be able to upload, like, any
Yes.
documents he has for an agenda item.
Yes.
She'll be able to put it from there. They don't have to come here, they can just upload that into the agenda. item.
My question was just, if there's an issue, I don't think any of the commissioners are gonna want to resolve it, they should, so that's.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
our office will
Okay.
take care of it, yes.
Ouch.
Anybody want to make a motion on this?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve purchase of the agenda quick agenda management system. For commissioners.
One more, is this to begin now?
Well,
Is this
we-
implemented, or until we?
No, I think we will start it.
We want to start it now?
As soon as we
As soon as
can.
Let's get the process going and take a little.
Because it would take a few months
Yeah,
just to get it going.
Going.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? You second? Any other discussion?
We have never done nothing in this court yet, my 12 years over, where we have done less paper. It's been massive. Ever, when you took your over, got your new system, it covered a lot of paperwork. Nothing we've done has got to paper. That's all I'm saying. It's just,
Which are you saying you don't want to get rid of paper, or you do?
no, I was gonna say, it's right where we're at.
Okay. All right.
You can still have all the paper you want.
You
Yeah.
can still print it all out, but
It's still.
It doesn't change that.
you're
It
making it
doesn't change
easier for
that.
the clerk in the judge's office.
It makes the record keeping easier.
Okay, but you can still get all the paper. You tell Lydia to print it out, and she can print every document.
But yeah, no, yeah, now get here about it again.
Yeah, so you get it twice?
Yeah.
I like my paper too, but I see the advantages of having access to all of it.
It makes the record keeping easier and more functional for those who want to request records of some sort when they're looking for something, or when one of y'all are looking for something, to go back and find it.
I didn't understand your comment. You're saying that we didn't get rid of any paperwork with our software?
No, you dealt with it.
No, it's
You dealt with it. You dealt with it.
that first report, yes, and I won't forget, but it
And we can't even read it.
It has-
There's nothing we can
It's not
read it.
it's not on the agenda right now.
We can't even read the thing.
So, okay. Any other discussion? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Aiken,
I have a question, how much does it cost me?
$6,300 a year. $525 a month or something like that. Yes,
I'm wondering, will we be able, as a public, be able to request certain things, like if there was a date that some action was taken, I can come in and you can search it?
Yes.
Because now we have to go back through Commissioner Court records.
it probably should be
Yes.
treated as a public record.
Yes.
So
It'll make it a lot easier.
it would allow you, yes, to go in and do your own searches
If
without,
you know what you're looking for, we'll be able to go in and search for that,
Action taken on this date and this date.
and pull up that whole record.
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. All right,
Would we have like a citizen court?
I'm sorry?
No, no.
Ms.
No,
Aiken,
Sorry. It is
you only allow one.
cybersecurity.
Software secure,
Cyber.
cyber secure.
Yeah, it's just talking about this.
This all, yeah, so it doesn't matter.
So we have our own system in here that's pretty protected,
yeah,
and it will be part of that system, probably on the cloud, right?
yeah.
So
But
it's
anything to do with Commissioner Court is open records, so anybody can have access to that.
everybody is required to take cybersecurity training.
Yes.
Believe that?
We are,
Okay.
we're required by the
All right. So, anyway, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have 3 ayes, you didn't make me vote, thank y'all. All right, next we're gonna move on to, motion passes, by the way. Next, we're gonna move on to discuss a possible action on ratification of TKE work order for the annual elevator inspection for the courthouse in the annex. These are the people that charge us $575 plus a $25 travel charge to come out and inspect our elevators at the annex of the courthouse.
Just all annexes?
Now, this is just 2. That elevator over here and this elevator here. Imagine yours is on a separate one. Oh, we haven't got anything.
I haven't
Yours
done
is still
anything
due,
for
right?
theirs yet.
All right.
I'll move that we ratify the TKE work order.
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed the possible action on the imposition of optional fees, calendar year 2023. This is with the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. We have always in the past done option A. And I think there's not a big difference between going to B other than just it's an accounting problem.
We need to adopt this.
Adopt and pick an option.
Option A, I'll make that motion.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on authorization to advertise for seal bids for construction of an addition to precinct 1 yard office.
Make the motion, we approve authorized for seal bids.
All right. Anybody want a second?
Sorry.
I'm moving the babies over there.
Motion in 2 seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on advertising, on authorization to advertise for a public hearing to reduce speed limit on County Road 265, precinct 1.
This is another one of the county roads that doesn't have a posted speed limit, so I'll make the motion, we approve it advertise for a public hearing to reduce speed limit.
Motion and second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed the possible action on authorization to advertise for a public hearing to reduce speed limit on the following county roads in San Martin Hills subdivision. County roads 241, 242, 243, 244, 245, 246, located in precinct 1.
Same thing with this one, I'll make the motion, we approve for a public hearing.
Motion and second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on authorization to advertise for public hearing for replacement of a 3-way stop sign at the following intersections. County Road 2720, 2723, County Road 2727, and 2720, located in precinct 1.
Okay, these that had stop signs, they're not recorded, so to make them legal, we gotta record them. I'll make the motion, we authorize the public hearing to replace these stop signs.
Second.
Motion is second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed possible action on approval of quote from Leslie Crowe to repair and paint inside walls in the common areas of the courthouse. Well, it hasn't changed over there. There's still all the crackling stuff and paint chipping and stuff like that. And we had $96,000 that was in an account from COVID, right, left over? I was gonna use that, but since then, he's moved it into the general fund. Money's still there, but I think it would be good to update the courthouse, the old courthouse, and make it look pretty. And that's what it costs.
Is this the only quote we got? Just curious.
Yeah, Pat went out and got it, and so yes, it is the only quote we got.
I'd rather eat more paint, so.
Do you know somebody else?
No.
I was gonna say, he's been having a hard time finding people that wanna
Work.
bid and
He's
work.
actually been working on this for probably 6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
get this in.
Yes.
Because it was that long ago that we asked him, I asked him to just go look into it.
We have funds available.
We do.
Okay. Where is that? I move we approve the quote, unless approved, the Tarrant County Fair about walls for common areas courthouse.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed possible action on declaring precinct 1 office furniture as salvage and authorized disposal.
Yeah, this is something that was had water damage from last year's storm that we moved out, they were doing the repairs and they're just putting it back. So,
All right.
I'll make a motion to we approve declaring the furniture as junk and give it to us.
Sorry. Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed possible action on rescheduling the October 6, 2022 Commissioners Court meeting. I think 3 of y'all are going to be somewhere, and I'm actually,
Conference.
y'all are going to be at a conference. And so we won't have a quorum unless Commissioner Beck and I hang around, but since we can't have a quorum and y'all are going to be gone, I'm going to the Texas A&M Alabama football game, so that means I'll only need Commissioner Beck here.
You want me to make decisions?
Yes.
So what day?
I think that's a-
Thursday before or Thursday after, do y'all care? Anybody have an opinion?
I don't care.
I won't be here Thursday.
The Thursday before you won't be here? So the 13th? 13th is good with everybody?
We're good.
Sure.
All right. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have nothing on 43. We go to number 44. And it's executive session deliberation regarding economic development negotiations with Cecil Hall. So if y'all wouldn't mind, this is executive session, so everybody needs to clear out